Good evening, and welcome to the very last edition of In Relation to Both Teams for the season. It's your boy Big D. Just got a flannel shirt. Well, I've had it for about a year now. That's one thing I forgot to show in my Eagles collection, but I will make another video about that if my collection grows. But either way, it's just a flannel shirt with the Eagles logo in the middle on the pockets. Nothing really special. Anyway, as we all know, we got the Raiders on Christmas night. That's the game I'm trying to go to. Haven't gotten the ticket yet, but I'm going to see what I can do. But anyway, for this version of In Relation to Both Teams, if you think I'm going to talk about Super Bowl 15, I'm afraid you're disappointed. I don't really want to talk about that, and I wasn't alive to see that. I mean, I actually do like the Oakland Raiders. If I had to pick another team to root for, if I wasn't allowed to root for the Eagles anymore, it would be the Raiders. I've had family members tell me, why would you want to like the Raiders? They beat us in the Super Bowl. Well, I wasn't alive to see that. But anyway. Yep, what we're here to talk about is arguably the biggest free agency bust in NFL history. None other than Raider great and Eagles disappointment, Nnamdi 𝔡'𝔑𝔞𝔯𝔦. As we all know, Nnamdi 𝔡'𝔑𝔞𝔯𝔦, he's considered one of the best players of the 21st century with the Raiders. I mean, he was a 3-time Pro Bowler, and he was actually considered the best corner in the NFL. I believe he had his breakout season in 2006. He was drafted in 2003. But then he really had his breakout season in 2006 when he had 8 interceptions, including a pick six off Ben Roethlisberger. And by 2008, he was actually considered by the NFL even better than Champ Bailey at the time. And then after the 2010 season, he hit the free agency market, and he was pursued by multiple other teams. And my beloved Philadelphia Eagles beat out multiple other teams, including the Dallas Cowboys, to get Nnamdi. And he was introduced in Philly with all the hype in the world. During the 2011 season, the whole Dream Team shit with him, Jason Babin, Cullen Jenkins, Vince Young, the other Steve Smith who was decent on the Giants, all those guys. And that season, as we all know, turned out to be a disappointment after Vince Young opened his damn mouth. We all know what happened there. Nnamdi in particular was especially disappointing. I mean, the way I see it, I mean, he was considered one of the best corners. He was considered a shutdown corner in Oakland. But yet, when he came to Philly, he was constantly getting beat off the line of scrimmage by scrub receivers. I mean, even some receivers that you would expect to do good against him, like a Julio Jones or a Larry Fitzgerald. But this dude practically made Victor Cruz's brief career. I mean, when Victor Cruz was a good receiver for a short time, his first great game was against Nnamdi, even though he had 3 catches, but 2 of them were touchdowns, including one caught in traffic on him. Victor Cruz just raped him all day, up and down the field. And before that, he was burnt by Roddy White. He was a disappointment in 2011. He was actually still considered, he still made the list of top 100 players at the time, but a far cry from what he was in Oakland. And part of the reason, the criticisms were generally that Nnamdi was used very differently in Philly than how he was used in Oakland. I mean, in Oakland, he was primarily man coverage, where in Philly, the first year, Juan Castillo, may I remind you, he was a offensive line coach turned defensive coordinator. I'll explain a little bit more of that when we get into year number 2. Yeah, that was the constant argument with Nnamdi and when people defended him. I was one of his biggest supporters, even after he was disappointed. I mean, I used to watch the game with my stepfather, and he used to tell me, yo, 𝔡'𝔑𝔞𝔯𝔦 sucks. I'm like, nah, dude. Nah, give him a chance. He can get better. And he's like, nah, he sucks. I still believed in him up until he was cut. The whole time I believed he could get better. But anyway. Yep. It was primarily because he was in zone coverage most of the time. And by 2012, when they had him in man coverage even more, when they put him back in man coverage, he was still getting burnt. I mean, yeah, he was getting burnt. He shut down Calvin Johnson. He did shut down a little bit of Larry Fitzgerald. Just a little bit. But he was getting beat. He was getting burnt by all kinds of dudes. I mean, he got burnt by a guy, number 14, named Robinson when we played the Washington Redskins back in 2012. Number 14, his name was Robinson. I don't remember his first name. Never been heard of before. Burnt Nnamdi by 40 yards. Touchdown. Never heard from again. And in 2012, by week, I believe, 10 or 11 after we lost to the Cowboys, Jim Washburn was gone. And primarily one of the reasons why Juan Castillo was pretty bad, aside from being a former offensive line coach who was underqualified for the damn job, Jim Washburn had this type of mentality to where he had this attitude to where you're an offensive line coach turned defensive coordinator. You don't have any experience, so why should I listen to you? And Washburn was causing problems when Juan was trying to learn the ropes and try to make shit work the best way he can. But Andy Reid really put Juan into a situation where it was impossible to win in the first place. Not very smart. And after another disappointing season, Nnamdi was cut. There was a lot of talk about us potentially trading him and that he would stay if he took a pay cut. To be honest with you, I was kind of hoping that he would take the pay cut because even after 2 disappointing seasons, I still believed in him. I still believed he could change. But strangely, there was also rumors that he was going to get traded, but nobody really wanted him at that point. So ultimately, he refused to take the pay cut and he was cut. Yeah, they were talking about how the chemistry just wasn't the same when he came into Philly and that he was found eating lunch in his car alone. That might have been part of the problem. It might have been the fact that Juan Castillo, an offensive line coach turned defensive coordinator, was trying to force a square peg into a round hole. After that, he was signed by the San Francisco 49ers. I believe it was a $1.2 million deal. It was 1 year. It was like a low-risk, high-reward kind of prove-it deal. And it looked like he may potentially get his career back on track because that would be an opportunity for him to kind of get his shit together and be what he used to be. Amazingly, he was even worse than he was in Philly, and he was cut midway through the season. I believe he was cut before we faced the Raiders when Nick Foles dropped 7 touchdowns on him. Yep, it was a sad state of affairs. The Eagles expected great things from him. We really thought we had made it with him, but it just didn't work out for us in the end, and it kind of seems to be that way. It's been like that for many years. I mean, yeah, he was kind of used in zone. Yeah, the chemistry wasn't exactly the same. Yeah, we can make excuses. We can sit back and make all the excuses we want, but at the end of the day, the motherfucker was trash. But good news for Nnamdi. After he left Philly, after San Fran cut him, he was able to retire as an Oakland Raider on a one-day contract and got with Kerry Washington and pursued an acting career. Although his acting career started in 2008, but that's what his career's been. He's been a low-profile actor. Although he will go down in infamy as one of the biggest free agent disappointments of all time, but at least he's making it in the acting industry. And not to mention, he's also been a good man off the field too. So it's not all bad news for him. It didn't end all bad for him. Although us Eagles fans were kind of screwed over in the end, but either way. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up here. I hope to see you at the game. I'm going to try to get that ticket. I may be going alone now, but I hope to see you there. Like this vid, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Merry Christmas. Merry early Christmas, that is.